Hey everybody, going live with Panthro today. Um, I was having some fun with the mic test. Going to be posting live on the page real quick. I know I said yesterday that after Tiger I was going to do Chitara, but what I decided to do instead is move up Panthro because everybody was asking me. So I went ahead and bumped it up. So if you're just joining and you want to know what happened to him, to Chitara, and why Panthro's here, it's because of the fact that I was just switching it up a little. So anyway, hi Dee, thanks for joining. Gonna make some adjustments to some lights here and get things going real quick. So pull the camera down just a little. And we'll get this thing moving right along. Now, in my style, I know he's got a lot of more African-American features, which is fine. In my style, he's got a little bit of a broader chin than he actually has in the series. It just pans out a little better. I'm going to go ahead and carve that ear in there real quick. And he's one of the fittest ThunderCats of the group. He's got more of that wrestler or, bulkier superhero type of look where a lot of them don't. I'm just going to put a thin raise right here for his chest straps so we can get those going right in here, because I didn't detail those on because I wanted to do this in the raw. I got asked if I would do this one less detailed and more raw to start with rather than refining the whole thing. So that's the reason we have this kind of a look going on, so you guys can see how I actually do that. And that's the tip of his other ear. So Panthro's ears stick out more cat-like than anything else too, because of the fact that that's one of the favored features of a panther, which he was based on, because of the fact that they have very prominent ears and they can hear for miles and miles and miles away. And that's been proven many times in nature. And this guy was supposed to be their technical engineer, and he's basically their scientist or inventor of the group, weapons specialist, that kind of thing, and security specialist. But he also has a background in heavy sciences, and that was the reason he always made things like the Thunder Tank and stuff like that, and was a big part of building the castle that they lived in, which was called the Cat's Lair. I really dig this character because he's one of my absolute favorites. And the reason I'm putting the ear up like that is because the fact that his head is angled down this way, and we really shouldn't see that, but I felt funny without having at least a remnant of it, like it's perked up kind of thing. So I added that on. I mean, some people may disagree with that, but I just wanted to add it for the three-dimensional effect of the other side of his head. So there was a reason for that. Because I got asked right before I came on, it's like, why is his ear sticking up there? It shouldn't be showing, on that side of his head. But I just put it a little bit higher so that it would. I needed a little bit of a three-dimensional lift. And I didn't want to put it right back up, back here, because then it looks like Batman and it looks strange. Which that's not the way this guy's built. So if you see it and it looks awkward to you now, it'll probably stand out because I said something. But but it is what it is. So just having a good time with this one. When I got into this series, I discussed it a lot over the last two cards, but this guy really resonated with me because I deal in a lot of sciences in my work. I work as a hobbyist, as a light engineer, because I've got a hydraulics and architectural engineering background. So I like to study a lot of that stuff and know how things work and build, and whatnot. And when I was getting into it, right as I got into it, I was, oh, good Lord, 10 or 11 when the series started. So, and I was getting into the deeper sciences. I hadn't got into, higher end physics or anything like that yet. I was just doing like the small Lincoln Logs types of mechanics and things like that you did at that age. You build stuff and you can make the connects work and all that. But this guy stuck with me because of the fact that he reminded me of my science teacher. And he cracked me up because it was one of those things where he actually sounded like him. Which the actor that did this, I can't ever remember his name, and he was a phenomenal actor. It was the guy that played Bill Cosby's dad in the Cosby Show, and I can't ever remember that man's name, and it just eats me alive when I forget it, because he was a classically trained actor, and he used to do so many different voices and dialects and all this great stuff. And it was just nuts the way he would do it. I'm going to carve in these spikes here. Well, see, Matt, you asked a good question, but the thing is, I've already answered it. The reason I didn't do the new ThunderCats remake is because of the fact that, well, it's not it was a nice break, but the thing is that the original ThunderCats weren't in the 90s. They were actually in the late 80s. And the reason I did this specific series is because of the fact that I didn't resonate with the original series didn't resonate with me. The newer series didn't resonate with me as much as this one did. The one from 2010 that ran a couple of seasons, it was all right. It just wasn't what I knew as the ThunderCats and what I grew up with. So I didn't want to discredit that one because I didn't know as much about it as much as I do now. And I still am not a fan of that series as much as I would like to be. And because of the fact that this is the ThunderCats to my generation. Okay? I don't have to do something that's, updated and new, but just because it's updated and new. This is a vintage cartoon to me and one of my childhood favorites. I was 10 years old when this show originally aired, and about 9 or 10, and it's just something that stuck with me. And the idea of doing the new version just didn't appeal to me, so that's the reason why. Because I disagree with the way that program was run. And like I said, nothing against it. It's all right for what it is, but it's not the original ThunderCats to me, and I didn't take interest in it as much as I did this original series. So that was the reason why I did these instead of that version. But hope that answers your question, man. And I'm going to cut in this nose here. Like I said, this one's going to be pretty quick because he's fairly straightforward, and his skin is smoother than the other ThunderCats where they have the obvious hair thing going on. He has fur too, but it's slick like a cat, so you don't have to mess with all of that other stuff. Now, I'm making sure this is in my monitor. That's the reason I keep hesitating. But this character really took it off for me and just, ran with it, where a lot of them didn't. Because in the newer version, he is in that newer version Matt mentioned the question about, he is more of a warrior scientist. A warrior rather than a scientist. Ran it all together. And he was more of the general type of character, so he's more of a warrior and not the scientific master that he is now, the weapons engineer that he originally was in this version. And it was a problem. I didn't like it. Mum-Ra had brainwashed him, and he had been broken after being tortured and stuff in the new one. And, it just didn't, like I said, it just didn't resonate with me very much. And no offense to the new one, I like the look of it and whatnot. It just doesn't appeal to what I'm doing with the comics that I like to make and the cartoons that I like to make. So I just didn't want to work with that. Now, see, I knew I was going to do that. At this angle, he should have a deeper palate, a deeper mouth palate, a larger upper lip. So I need to drop that down. I knew I was going to do that because of force of habit with my style. I like to put that angel's touch, as they mention it, up too high. But in this case, he's got a much larger lip, so a heavier upper lip. So I'm going to put that down like that. And see, I make mistakes all the time. Everybody tells me all the time that my stuff looks cool, and you never make mistakes. How did you get so? No. I make mistakes all the time, and I don't ever hide from that. That's something I just don't. I don't run from. I mean, if I make a mistake and it's obvious, then I just rework it real quick. And a lot of people don't like the way that I lay out eyes here when I sketch them in raw, because they're like, that's wrong. No, it's not. Not for my style, because what I do is I shape them out as I go, and they either fit or they don't, and that's okay. Because I prefer to work on it while I'm sketching rather than have to worry about it being cut, in the situation of being fully laid out to where it's non-negotiable. I don't like drawing that way. Because if it's non-negotiable, then that means there's no room left to work. And as an artist, you can't adjust, you can't change, you can't grow, all of that. So but again, like I said, this is in my style. So he's not going to look exactly like he did in the series anyway, because of the primary fact that I don't draw them that way. I just don't. A lot of people say, it's before their time or whatever, and they don't like to, be a participant of certain cartoons or shows or whatever. And that's okay if you feel that way. It's just, don't belittle my tunes because you didn't get because you don't like what it is in versions of whatever the current incarnation happens to be, and it doesn't match to your world. It matched to mine at the time, and that's okay, because we can both have both versions. It's all right. It's just comics. I see people scream about the Golden Age stuff too. Many an argument have been had over that, and it's just, relax. It's just comics. There's room for all of us, really. I like cutting in this definition right here because it always appeared that he had an extra muscle in his neck in the cartoon series. I know that's not the situation, but it always looked that way. It always looked like he had an extra muscle on the side. And being a ThunderCat, he could get away with that. The animators could get away with that because of the fact that who's to argue with that? Where have you ever seen this guy to make that happen? So, just saying. But I'm adding in a couple of shades here because of the fact, like I said, he's really smooth, skin-wise. And I just want to make sure and pay respect to that coloration. Because he's kind of a funky grayish blue color. It's not even the real thing, No, I don't. No, Matt, commenting again about just because you guys won't be able to see this, I'm gonna tell you. Matt commented back about the series. Yeah, it's just because I'm a bigger fan of the older series. It's not that I got anything against the original or the remake. It just didn't stick with me the same way this one did is all. So yeah, and I appreciate that, man. It's, you know, it's fine to ask. I'm not going to get ticked or anything. I want you guys to ask questions. But no, that was the reason I went with this one instead of that one, is because I didn't like the way that they made Tigra, and you know, I didn't like the way they totally demolished the character of Panthro. I didn't like the way they made Tigra his Lion-O's twin brother from the same litter and whatnot. It was just crazy. Then there was the Chitara love triangle between her and you know, her, Tigra, and Lion-O, and who was going to get to be with her. And it was kind of like a Gilligan, Marianne, professor thing going on there. And, you know, you could never tell where they were going to go. And I made that reference a lot lately. If you don't know who Gilligan's Island is, you know, that series of Gilligan's Island, you guys can check that out and find out what I mean by that reference. Because it cracks me up to no end. It's like, what? What's Gilligan's Island? It busts me up. Before my time. That one was before my time as well. But, yeah. That show came out in the 60s. It was out there by the same people that did Bewitched, I Dream a Genie, those types of shows. Gilligan's Island was right in that genre, without the sci-fi and mystic stuff. I'm going to cut those eyebrows in just a little. I don't want to give him too much of a grimace, but because he's very subtle with his expressions. But I'll give him, you know, the eyes of, you know, you don't want to mess with me kind of thing. And everybody asked me too, when I was saying I was going to do this one today and posted it this morning, a lot of people were asking me, why don't you do the action shot for the nunchucks? Well, because this card is very small and you guys would not get hardly anything on this one if I did it. So, you know, normally cards that are done like that, the artwork is done large scale on 8.5 by 11 or, you know, at least a 5 by 7 half sheet, and then turned up, and you guys can get the whole thing, and it's reduced down to this size to where it looks really, really good. You know, a lot of artists that draw on these make them look really good that way, but I don't like to do that because of the fact that when I draw heavy action shots, what ends up happening is all the detail gets burnt out because it's so small, and I don't want to do that. But I may do something big for it. You know, I may do a pinup or a poster or something like that later. That would be really, really fun to do like a team shot kind of thing after they're all done or whatever. That would be a really fun piece. But that's why we get more of these headshots, or, you know, I'll put together multiple cards and go that route to do that. So that may be something I do in the future. But for right now, just kicking it out this way. And I might get froggy and do something. I don't know. It would be a heck of a layout because of the fact that it would be, like I said, really, really tight. And I've done a few of those, and I didn't like the way they came out. So that's why I've been avoiding that. But there's always a chance for some of it to come out, you know. We'll see. I'm going to put kind of these slashes in here. I know I'm going to erase these when I ink it. But just to give it a little more depth, I'm going to kind of put in a few of these here and there. Just 50 or so. Just kind of adding a little texture to the skin. And I normally don't like doing this because it grits up the card and it grits up the image. But in this case, it seems appropriate. So that's what you guys are going to get. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad, as long as I don't overwork it. So I'm going to pop him up just a little bit more. That would go down this way. Pop in the old bicep there. Put in a little bit. Now, that cross shadow right there, I'll go ahead and draw in a couple of these too, because that's the inside of the bicep, just to separate it a little bit. But I normally wouldn't go down that side direction, but I did that already, so we'll leave it there. Put a little undermark on the old cones of doom on the spikes here. And this way they would be more direct, so they'll stay like that. I'll put one right here. And I don't like the way that line looks running through there, so I'm going to erase it real quick. Yay! Fix it 101. There we go. I want it to look solid and look real. When I etched this out and I did the sketching, I drew right through these, so I need to tweak that a little bit. I mean, I know I would normally clean that up with the inks, but because it's live in the moment, I want you guys to get the best out of it. So there we go. We got a little eraser going. Doing change-ups on the fly is cool. That's good for you. As an artist, you should do that more often than not, because in a lot of cases, you'll improve the image. But sometimes, you know, there will be hit and miss. It happens. So there we go. That's my rendition of Panthro. Let's see. Real quick, I'll lay these out for you so you guys can take a peek at the trio. There we go, 2 down. Now I have, in this collection, I have Wily Cat, and Pumara, and Linkso, Bengali, Chitara, and a couple of others that I won't reveal all of them right now. But just so you guys know, this is where we're at. We've got 3 down so far. I hope you guys are digging them. And we'll go from there. So tomorrow is going to be Chitara. Just to give you, again, a nice little peek. There you go. That's what she's going to look like. Hope you guys like it. Yes, Snarf is in the list, Matt. I am going to be putting Snarf in the list as well. He is at the end of it, but he is in the listing. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Put Panthro back up here. I hope you dig it. I'll check you tomorrow.